نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Respected viewers and listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In continuation of our Quranic program under the auspices of Adult Quranic Education Program Srinagar, today we shall try to learn few more verses from chapter number 2, that's Al-Baqarah, starting from verse number 229. 229. Please hold a copy of Quran without translation in your hands and focus your attention towards these verses. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. At-talaq maratan. Divorce, at-talaq is twice. فَإِمْسَاكُمْ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. Then the husband or wife should either hold together on equitable terms, أَوْ تَسْرِمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ, or there should be separation in kindness. وَلَا يَحِلُّ لَكُمْ. O men, it's not lawful for you أَن تَأْخُذُوا, that you take back مِمَّا آتَيْتُمُوهُنَّ شَيْئًا, whatever you might have given to your wife. إِلَّا, except أَن يَخَافَا, if they fear. That means if the husband or wife fear أَلَّا يُقِيمَا حُدُودَ اللَّهِ, that they cannot hold to the limits set by Allah. فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ, so, O judges, if you fear or apprehend أَلَّا يُقِيمَا حُدُودَ اللَّهِ, that the husband and wife cannot hold to the limits of Allah, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا, then there is no blame upon them. فِي مَا افْتَدَتْ بِهِ, if she, this woman, gives something to get freedom. تِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ, these are the limits set by Allah. فَلَا تَعْتَدُوهَا, don't break them or don't cross them. وَمَا يَتَعْ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ, and whoever breaks the limits set by Allah, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ, and they alone are the wrongdoers. فَإِنْ طَلَّقَهَا, then after pronouncement of 2 talaqs, if he, this husband, pronounces the third one, فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ, then this wife, his wife, is not lawful for you. It becomes unlawful. She becomes unlawful for him. مِن بَعْدِ, after that, after the pronouncement of the third. حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ, until she marries some other person. فَإِنْ طَلَّقَهَا, if this second husband divorces her, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا, then there is no blame or sin upon them. أَنْ يَتَرَاجَعَ, if they reunite, that the previous husband and wife, if they reunite, and in the night, أَنْ يُقِيمَا حُدُودَ اللَّهِ, if they feel that they can hold to the limits of Allah. وَتِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ, and these are the limits, or the boundaries set by Allah. يُبَيِّنُهَا لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ, which are made clear, which He makes clear for men of learning. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ, and when you divorce your women folk, فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ, and they complete their appointed term of iddah, فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, so either take them back on equitable terms, أَوْ سَرِّحُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, or set them free on equitable terms. وَلَا تُمْسِكُوهُنَّ دِرَارًا, وَلَا تُمْسِكُوهُنَّ, don't keep them back, dirara, just to harm them. لِتَعْتَدُوا, by unfair means or wrongful confinement. وَمَا يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ, and whoso does it, فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ, he wrongs his own self. وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا آيَاتِ اللَّهِ هُزُوًا, and don't take the commandments of Allah as a jest or as a joke. وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ, and recall and remember the favors of Allah which has bestowed upon you. وَمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ, and what He has sent down upon you, to you, مِنَ الْكِتَابِ, the book, وَالْحِكْمَةِ, and wisdom, يَعِظُكُمْ بِهِ, by which He admonishes you or instructs you. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ, and fear Allah. وَعَلَمُوا, and know it, أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ, that Allah has knowledge of everything. Sadaqallahul Azim. These Quranic classes which we conduct, we are faithful students of Quran. We want to learn the basics of it. These classes are not meant for scholars, for experts. We're just humble students of Quran. We want to learn basics so that we don't deviate. We could understand the basic framework of Islam. By listening to these Quranic classes, these programs, we cannot be muftis and start delivering these judgments, all that. It's not meant for that. But as students, we should know everything what Quran explains. How to spend our life according to certain that's said by Quran, whether it is marriage or God forbid, if it may sometimes force somebody to go for divorce or separation. We have to learn what are the basic norms said by Quran. And since we are ignorant about it, we have made Quran just a book of recitation. We never bother to understand it in its real separate. That's what this Quran program is all about. For a common man, for a learner, he should have the basic knowledge of Quran in all the aspects of his life and then follow it and let it separate. So this is the basic injunction. Then we shall try to understand. This is the talaq discussed for the first time in our Quranic regular studies, which we have to remember. Islam emphasizes union of a man and his wife, because that, according to Quran, according to Islam, which is highlighted in Quran time and again, this forms the basic unit of life. And aim of Quran and Islam is to cement this relation, to make nikah between a husband and wife is a lifelong contract, a lifelong association, because mankind starts from this relation. So aim of Quran is to strengthen it and not allowed to break it in any case, except in extraordinary situations. Because Islamic principles or Islamic instructions are not so unreasonable too, that marriage is meant for betterment of two individuals, because they are compatible to each other. They become husband and wife, and they lay the foundation of basic unit of life, that is family, and that is, in fact, it's humanity or community starts from there. Clans, tribes, families sprout from that man-woman relation. These are to be kept intact. So nikah is a lifelong contract based on piety, righteousness, and it is one of the great virtues. We see, according to Quran, when Adam was created, the first thing after he got the special gift of knowledge, Quran says, he was granted knowledge, and through knowledge he was granted superiority. Okay, that was his high status. And then he was asked to stay in the garden of paradise, in the garden for some time, for a brief period of time. Temporarily he was asked to stay in the garden. But the first gift he was given there was a spouse he was given. Spouse, that is his wife, Eve, Hawa. That's why Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "An-nikah min sunnati, faman ragiba an sunnati falaysa minni." Nikah or marriage is my way of life, and who turns away from it, he cannot be my follower. Because there's 101 advantage from moral, social, economic, from every standard, any standard, is a special relation which need not to be broken, nor shall Islam allow crack in this basic unit of life. But simultaneously, Quran gives realistic teachings, because sometimes it may become inevitable. I just give an example. Two persons get married, man and woman. Then after some time, if man feels the woman to whom he has got married is a wicked woman, she's immoral, indulging in extramarital or immoral practices, or she doesn't show obedience and devotion to her husband and the family she's about to start, and it crosses limits. So this relation becomes a hell, can become a hell, and it can be vice versa. A man-woman after relationship, maybe it comes to a wife feels that she has been married to a very, very wrong person. He's an immoral person, he's a vagabond, he's a drunkard, it's possible. He's a gambler. He wastes his wealth and money. He doesn't care to take care of his wife and family. He has some extramarital relations here and there. So is it possible that isn't this condition a hell? This family becomes a hell for the husband, wife, and not only for them, for the offsprings they are going to produce. Or it's not all hell onto further, it becomes two families get involved. In other way, a community becomes a disaster for a community. So in such circumstances, what's the solution? Are they going to still keep their ties together? And instead of enjoying life, they spend sleepless nights and no daytime rest, always disturbed, or with confusion, frustration, confrontation, contradictions, infightings. Islam is rational in every respect here too. He says, if such extreme, extraordinary situations arise, then the solution should be a separation. But we do honor and we do respect. That's what's called talaq. It's like this. A man who has his own body, every part of his body is so dear to him. Would anybody like to chop off his leg or foot? If he's offered good amount of money, okay, I give you such a money, let me chop off your foot or your hand. Not possible. Even if he's in dire situations. Nobody would allow to, nobody would like to, or nobody can allow anybody's part to be chopped off. But imagine, if a part, whatever, the hand, arm, or leg, or foot, gets infected to the extent that chopping becomes necessary. If hand or foot was not chopped, whole body may get infected and the person will rot and die in a very miserable condition. Doesn't at that time, man, he gives in writing when he's offered by surgeon, you have to sign this paper, that I voluntarily allow my surgeon to cut my foot or my hand. He gives in writing, and he's willing to do just to save his body. Same is example of talaq. Normal situations, Quran will not uphold talaq, but if situations are so bad and contradictory and infightings, it becomes hell of a life for both families and whole community. There's a hadith that Prophet said, in the sight of Allah, talaq is, that's divorce, is abghadul mabahat. The most disliked thing by Allah among all the halal things. That though it is lawful in extreme situations, but still disliked by Allah. If there is no alternative, no option left, then we may go for separation. That's talaq. But it's not like this, as Quran, this verse also explains. That, okay, there's minor difference of opinion between husband and wife. And husband starts pronouncing talaq. Not only one talaq, then he may go for 2, 3, and as many talaqs. It's not so easy. Islam, though it's madness, it's not a normal thing to pronounce talaq, but Islam gave it a perfect shape through Quran. We see in Quran, it's explained in chapter Surah An-Nisa itself, that if the husband feels that his wife, is verse number 34 and 35 of chapter An-Nisa, disobedience on part of wife, they are not in good terms, the situation is not so rosy and good for the development of a family, then Quran says, yes, it's an obligation as husband, fa'izuhunna. Admonish your wife, make her understand. Make her understand how we have to live in a good and peaceful and happy life. And make her understand the repercussions or the consequence of separation if she doesn't mend herself. This is the first step. Then Quran says, وَاللَّاتِي تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزُنَا فَعِذُهُنَا. Who apprehend some disobedience for wives, then they have to admonish them, make them understand in a goodly manner. وَهْجُرُهُنَ فِي الْمَضَجِعِ. If it doesn't work, still there's infighting and differences, opinion and situation worsening from by day to day, then وَهْجُرُهُنَ فِي الْمَضَجِعِ. Get separate beds. Don't sleep together. but temporarily. But don't pronounce talaq. This is not talaq. This doesn't mean talaq. And if do it for some time, for a few days or more, and see its results. If that means this is an indication that this temporary separation may ultimately lead to permanent separation of talaq, maybe that works and they'll come together and live. And there's no problem. It is all within the four walls of house, within room. Maybe even the rest of the family members may not be knowing it, but it's to be done in a very peaceful and goodly manner. If that separation of beds or bedroom separation doesn't work, situation is still worsening, then Quran says, what is to be in? Vadribuhunna. Oh, you can use even your hand in a beating, but mild. What for? It's not an aggression against women. This was an atrocity. Imagine, this is only to prevent total permanent separation or talaq. If for that we use our hand also mildly, what for? For the betterment of the future of the family, that let it work so that there is no separation, no talaq is pronounced. That is, imagine how much time it would take. Not like that somebody comes from the office, he has some problem with his boss, or he has some fighting or call with somebody else, and he's in an annoyance or in an annoyed frame of mind. Adrenaline has been secreted in his blood, and he comes back home and just for small excuses, he starts pronouncing talaq to his wife. Then you are no more my wife, I give you talaq, and many talaqs, repeat talaqs. Now let's see how Quran gives a solution. وَاللَّاتِي تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزُهُنَّ فَعِظُوهُنَّ. Admonish them, instruct them, make them understand. With a goodly advice, perfect advice, friendly and affectionate advice. Do it for some time. It's not a matter of an hour or two. It may take a few days or even maybe more time. And then, mazaji, if that doesn't work, then separate beds. Bedroom or bedding can be separated. And if that doesn't work, even small, mild use of hands. Why? Just to prevent talaq. So how can you blame Quran? The Quran gives man a license to throw away one wife and get another in her place, to kick her again by pronouncing talaq and get another one. That is misuse of power. If Allah gave man this power, that is misuse. It's like this. Allah has given me power, hand, whatever energy, power I have in my hand, it's to be utilized properly for earning, for doing good, helping others. But if I use this hand power just to kill somebody with my fist, beat others, choke throat of somebody to kill him with intention, or take a sword and use my force for killing and anarchy or doing any immoral thing, that is misuse of power. That's what males have been doing. And this is misuse, we need to get educated about it. If that doesn't work, the Quran says, فَإِنْ أَطَعْنَاكُمْ فَلَا تَبْغُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ سَبِيلًا. If things are set right, everything becomes okay, then you have no excuse against them. You should have no excuse unnecessarily, not tease them unnecessarily. And then, imagine, still no talaq. If situation continues, all the three things don't work, situation worsens, it starts becoming a cancerous spot. Two families getting involved to a great extent. Then Quran said, don't go for talaq still. فَإِنْ كِفْتُمْ شِقَاقَ بَيْنِهِمْ. If there's still difference of opinion, arguments and counter-arguments between husband and wife, فَبْعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. Appoint a wise, good person, experienced person, who shall represent from manfolk, from the husband's side, a good, responsible, reasonable, and man of wisdom. And another, min ahliha, a good, wise, experienced, noble person from wife's side. Then let them try to mend their fences. Make them call both separately, husband and wife, and then join together, make them understand, see, don't do it, this is not good. On the basis of their experience and wisdom, they'll make them understand. This may result in disaster. What effect it is going to have on your future generation. You have young kids, your daughters and sons. What will be their parentage tomorrow? They'll be a broken family. and what is going to happen to your children. They'll make them understand. Just to keep relation intact. Still no talaq. Imagine. Then, if there's anything doesn't work, that's another point. It has become reached a point of no return. Point of no return. What solution? It is to be taken care of. The Quran says in chapter Surah At-Talaq, that's in 28 part of Quran, Surah At-Talaq, the very first verse. Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu idha talaqtumun nisaa fatalliquhunna li'iddatihinna. Oh message, oh prophet, that means your menfolk, husbands, who intend to divorce their wives, of course, after crossing all these stages, not just start with talaq, after passing through this phase, imagine. They should be divorced for the prescribed time frame, for iddah. What does that mean? That's explained in Quran itself and highly illustrated by hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Number one, see, I'll make you understand. Nothing works. It will take months altogether. As we read a few days back about Ila. If husband and wife have some difference and husband takes an oath that I shall not have no sexual relation with my wife, he has decided within 4 months. That's also a precondition for talaq. Don't go for talaq. Give time to both husband and wife to set themselves right, to understand each other. But the prescribed time is 4 months. Okay, these stages are to be passed, then only you can reach talaq. And when talaq is pronounced, Quran says it should be talaq for prescribed period. What does that mean? Prophet explains. Number one, I'll tell one. If 3 talaqs, in fact talaqs are 3, but only 2 are to be used. Because 3rd is only as a deterrent. That we shall come to know just in the next verse. Quran says, at-talaqu maratan, talaq is only twice. Quran doesn't say talaqs are 2 talaqs, you can use them anytime. Quran says, at-talaqu maratan, maratan means not 2. Talaq is twice, it is to be pronounced twice. How to pronounce talaq? Prophet said, peace be upon him, that talaq, if somebody pronounces talaq during the menstruation cycle of a woman, that's not valid talaq. That's not valid. One cannot divorce and pronounce even one talaq during that menstruation cycle. It's a very famous hadith about Abdullah bin Umar, who was son of Umar the Great. Once Umar himself, second caliph, Umar came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and said, O Messenger of Allah, my son Abdullah has divorced his wife. Pronounced talaq, but she is passing through menstruation cycle. Prophet was annoyed. He called Abdullah bin Umar. This is not talaq. Take this talaq, but this is not valid talaq. Allow her to complete this menstruation cycle. And then when the pure state starts, live together. When there's next, imagine, think of what Quran means by talaq. When next menstruation period starts, and when that is done, that's finished with it, whether 4 days, 5 days, or 6 days, and there's a pure state for a woman. She's in a pure state. Then Umar then pronounced talaq. The talaq is not to pronounce because that is not the best stage for that. There's irritation, there is some not so congenial atmosphere between husband and wife due to biological, psychological reasons, not to give talaq. Similarly, when Quran said, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu idha talaqtumun nisaa, Prophet, if you believers, if you have to, there's no alternative but to talaq your wives, talaq should be pronounced for a prescribed period of time. What does that mean? Prescribed period of time is for iddat. That means if a person pronounces 3 talaqs at a time, there is no iddat. That wife becomes unlawful to that husband there and then. Though there is no iddat, then you can understand what Quran directs a true believer. That you pronounce talaq for prescribed period, for iddat. That iddat is only possible if one, or at the most only 2 talaqs are pronounced. If you pronounce 3, there is no way of reconciliation. No iddat. Done, everything finished. They cannot marry again, they can't get married again. That means 3 talaqs should not be pronounced at a time in a single go. This is not advisable. This is not moral. This is not Quranic talaq. This is not according to norms set by Quran and by our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him. That's why once it came to the notice of the beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, that a person has divorced his wife and he has pronounced 3 talaqs at a time. Prophet really felt so bad. He was so annoyed. He made an announcement, Prophet, a well-known hadith, he made an announcement. Are you making book of God, Allah's book, this Quran, and just a joke or a play work? Then I'm still amongst you that you have started pronouncing 3 talaqs at one time. What joke you are making of Quranic teachings? Are you misleading? Imagine, see the words are like that. When the news came to the Prophet, this information that a man has divorced his wife and announced 3 talaqs at a time. He really got annoyed. He said, remember these words of hadith, Ayyalabu bi kitabillah. Are you playing or joking with the book of Allah, that is Allah's commands? Wa anna baina adharkum. Then I'm still amongst you. There are many, dozens of hadiths in this case. It is well known that once a person came to Abdullah ibn Abbas. He was one of the close companions of the Prophet and authority on Quran. In fact, first commentator of Quran. Tafsir ibn Abbas is the first ever written tafsir of Quran. So well versed was he in the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him himself. They say one person came to him and said, "Oh, respected Abdullah ibn Abbas, my uncle has divorced his wife and he has pronounced 3 talaqs at a time." See, Ibn Abbas he was shocked. He said, your uncle has openly disobeyed divine command, Allah's command. These are the words of the Abbas. Your uncle has disobeyed divine command and he has committed a sin. He has disobeyed Allah's command. He has committed a sin. And he has followed path of the Satan he has followed. Now how talaq is to begin? Not during menstruation period. And once, when all the stages we read just now in the light of Surah chapter An-Nisa, Faizuhunna, admonition, then separation of beds, then even use of force if needed. Just keep the relation intact. Doesn't matter if one has to use hand, but just protect the family integrity of the family. That's okay. That should be no problem. And then, if that doesn't work, then appoint a wise man from a male side and one wise man from female side, and let them try to make reconciliatory efforts. Quran says Allah will help them. If they make reconciliatory effort, surely Allah will help them, because Allah loves those who unite families. And he dislikes those who try to break families. It's just like Allah. If everything goes, that's the work, then only talaq. And how? First talaq is to be pronounced once. That's Islamic, Quranic way of talaq. But that when woman, number one, woman should be in pure period, not menstruation. And which pure period? That's also prescribed explained by Prophet, peace be upon him. That pure period in which man and woman have not slept together. They have not had relation. If menstruation cycles finish, and husband and wife have slept together, they have conjugal relations. During that, even pure period talaq cannot be pronounced. See, I sometimes wonder what has happened to we Muslims. What are we doing? How can we justify it? We have become notorious in the world. People are blaming us. God forbid, people are blaming our beloved Prophet. But they think Because they don't know our books. They are not bothered to read our books. When we don't read Quran, how can we expect Westerners and other people who belong to other religions should study Quran and their books? When we don't read. And when they see only our practice. And that's our practice. Talaq, talaq, talaq. Talaq we pronounce in pure period. Pure period. In that period where men and women have not established conjugal or sexual relations. If they have done it, then they have to, if husband intends to pronounce talaq, he has to wait for the completion of this pure period. Then when menstruation cycle comes after 1 month or days, then new pure cycle starts, then he has to pronounce talaq, because it's simply for the establishment of pregnancy. Maybe they have slept together, woman may have conceived. And when after the passage of 1 month, if woman she's conceived and husband will come to know, yes, he may think twice. Previously it was matter between my husband and wife. If my wife is pregnant, that means now the involvement of the future generation. He will think twice or 10 times whether you should go for talaq or not. Okay, if that's also, that the talaq is to be pronounced in pure period, right? And then that wife is advised not to leave husband's house. She has to live there for 1 month. She cannot leave there. Neither is husband allowed to expel his wife. Then go away. I have divorced you. You are no more my wife. He cannot force her to leave. Or nor is it advisable for wife. A wife is advised, don't leave, this is your house, you live there. If the woman hasn't divorced once, they are living in the same house, but of course estranged relations are not okay, cordial. If during this month, though announced one talaq has been pronounced, if they happen to, going upstairs or downstairs, they have an encounter. And maybe even to this extent, Prophet said during this 1 month period, woman should go for makeups. Try to beautify herself. Use scents and other fragrances just to attract her husband. Or wear good clothes. And if during this month, they again happen to hold up each other and live together, sleep together, be together, that one talaq is no more. They need not to go for another nikah. They can live together as if nothing had happened. Their husband, wife, as they were. But if the conditions have reached to that level, that even during this month, there is no reconciliation possible. They are not ready to live together. And then on the arrival of the second purified period, the second month, after the completion of next menstruation cycle, if husband intends, he can pronounce second talaq. And with that, they can separate. And that's enough separation. Just to pronounce talaq. Because Quran says, at-talaqu maratan, not thrice. Not 3 talaqs, not 2 talaq. Quran said, at-talaqu maratan, talaq is to be, if an explanatory translation of these 2 words should be, if I'm allowed to say, talaq should be pronounced twice in 2 periods. That means in 2 months duration. And if the husband and wife separates them, they can remarry at any stage, even if all the formalities are now done, completed. What dowry and dower or anything, things to be exchanged, or done, everything done. But since only one, if only one, that's also enough. Now, if the second talaq is also pronounced, there is scope of their reunion at any stage, any time. If better sense prevails over them after a month, after 2 months, after 6 months, after a year, or any time, or some wise men come in between, make them understand what hell you are doing. You are spoiling your family, you are spoiling your kids, your parents are so annoyed and so in sad mood, what are you doing? And they may try to go for reconciliation, but they have to go for nikah, and they will live together as if nothing had happened. They will live together in peace and tranquility. That is talaq. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم والحمد لله رب العالمين.